I was already on cloud nine yesterday because Massachusetts announced that Six Flags New England could finally reopen, and just when I didn't think the day could get better, it was discovered that the Scandia Screamer will have a new home starting this fall at Traders Village, where it will be known as the Prairie Screamer. Not only did the coaster's rescue come out of nowhere, but it went to a park that I didn't even know existed until earlier today. And that's shocking considering Traders Village is located in Grand Prairie, Texas, less than 5 miles from Six Flags Over Texas. So in this video, I will not only break down the news of Scandia Screamer being saved, but I will also review my experiences on this deceptively intense coaster. In February of 2019, Scandia Ontario closed forever. This was an 8-acre family entertainment center with some awesome mini golf courses, an arcade, and a small collection of rides. There were some decent flat rides like an armed drop tower and an S&S Scream and Swing, but the crown jewel for coaster enthusiasts was undeniably the Scandia Screamer. This was the first and one of the only adult coasters ever built by E&F Miler, and it gave one heck of a wild ride. The coaster opened in 1995, and it looked way more imposing than it had any right to be. This coaster stood 90 feet, or 27.5 meters tall, but it seemed way taller because of the super skinny supports. The ride was a super compact, quadruple out and back coaster with 2,600 feet, or 792 meters of track. The layout was simple. It consisted of drops loaded with airtime, and unbanked turns teeming with laterals. The asking price for this unique coaster was $950,000, which seemed like a great deal for a coaster of this scale. It took a few years for the coaster to be sold, but it finally found a buyer in Traders Village. Like many of us, I use RCDB to search for amusement parks, and Traders Village never popped up because the complex always lacked a coaster. Until now. Traders Village is a giant complex consisting of flea markets and rides. Traders Village has 3 locations. The Grand Prairie location was the first and largest, opening in 1973. The Houston location came second in 1989, and the San Antonio location opened most recently in 2011. The Grand Prairie location covers 120 acres with over 3,500 dealers. The complex is a small area consisting of a dozen flat rides, including a Larson Superloop and a Larson Drop Tower. But the complex will look a lot different this fall once the Prairie Screamer opens. And this will likely become a popular credit stop for enthusiasts. Not only is Traders Village extremely close to Six Flags Over Texas, but the rides are extremely affordable. It's just $3 per ride on the Prairie Screamer, or $14 for an unlimited wristband. Few parks can top those prices. Plus, the Screamer is one of the most underrated roller coasters ever built. It's surprising how few people talk about this ride, considering it was in Southern California, very close to some of the nation's most frequented parks. However, Scandia, Ontario was roughly 40 miles east of the major parks, on a road that was often congested. And Scandia has shorter hours than the major parks, so you had to consider the time you'd lose at one of the major parks if you wanted to get the credit. After multiple visits to Southern California without visiting Scandia, I finally made the trip in December of 2018. I left Disneyland early and squeezed in a trip to Scandia before returning to LAX. And I made it in the nick of time because Scandia closed less than 2 months after my visit. However, I almost didn't even get to ride the Screamer. Scandia was located behind a Kia dealership, and the park seemed suspiciously dead as I approached it. The drive into the dimly lit parking lot had more potholes than parked cars. Was the park closed? Had I driven all this way for naught? When I walked inside the arcade that doubled as the main entrance, I learned the place was indeed open. It was just that empty. And I quickly learned the few employees on duty were jacks of all trades. I was directed towards the redemption area of the arcade, where an employee was available to sell anything I could possibly want: arcade tokens, food, or in my case, wristbands. After she assured me that all rides were operational, I purchased a wristband and went right over to Screamer. I walked right up to the station and was greeted by an odd sight. There were 6 others just lounging on the railings, and not a single operator in sight. I was honestly surprised they didn't just climb into the train, because it looked a lot comfier than the railings, and there were no chains or anything blocking the train. As expected, Scandia had rotating ride operators, but it was still weird to be allowed free rein at a station like that until the operator arrived. But finally, an operator casually strolled up the exit ramp, and he walked over to the control panel and grabbed a clipboard. He tapped his pencil against his chin and squinted towards the clock. He took some notes. He then tapped the thermometer a few times before recording another measurement. We like to speculate what a ride's minimum operating temperature is. Is it 40 degrees, 30 degrees, 20 degrees? Few parks are transparent, but Scandia was very transparent about their weather policy. The operator made an announcement. Okay everyone, since it's below 60 degrees and the Scandia Screamer hasn't run in a while, we need a full train. Oh, it shouldn't have been hard to fill a 10-person train, but at Scandia, I thought I was doomed. I didn't even think there were 10 guests in the park. We waited 5 minutes, and just when we thought all hope was lost, another car pulled into the parking lot. We crossed our fingers and saw a group of 4 running towards the station. Our saviors had arrived. I picked the back and made a new friend with a dude who was perfectly content leaving his phone on the platform. But oddly, he refused to part ways with his Coca-Cola and brought it along for the ride. And Scandia didn't care. Now I'm not sure if there was something other than Coca-Cola in that bottle, or if he was afraid of being poisoned, but he held on to that thing with a kung fu death grip. The Screamer had a single lap bar shared by both riders. It's similar to the lap bars on Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure, and the park did not push them down very far. The seats on Screamer sat rather low, and they were far from ergonomic. The seats did not have much padding. The front gave the more comfortable ride, but I preferred the back for the stronger airtime, even if it wasn't entirely comfortable. And a major tip I have for taller riders is to slide your legs forwards. Otherwise, your shin will hit that lap bar during the ride's extreme airtime moments. After rolling out of the station, you rounded a super tight U-turn and went up the lift hill. After a slow climb, you rounded an even slower U-turn, providing a panoramic view of the nearby highway. But it was the calm before the storm. The first drop offered some nice floater airtime the whole way down the back, but even more striking was the sense of speed. The Screamer's top speed was just 50 miles per hour, or 80.5 kilometers per hour, but the coaster felt way faster. It felt unnatural for a Miler coaster to be traveling this fast, especially when it was supported by pixie sticks. Plus, the ride was built on top of some other rides in the park, which is quite the visual to see. You then ascended up a giant turnaround, getting a small pop of airtime in the front. This was followed by another super slow turn and an even wilder drop. This one gave even stronger floater airtime in the back, but from this point, Screamer went absolutely berserk. Each hill's airtime seemed to get stronger, and the turns were taken faster, so they started to deliver laterals. That was followed by another large turnaround. Front row riders again got a small pop of airtime, but this turn was taken a bit faster, so it offered some moderate laterals. And then came the third drop, which violently launched me skyward in the back. This hill slammed my shin on the first ride, and the landing was rough, but I appreciated the ride's power once I knew what to expect. Then came another, you guessed it, sizable turnaround. This one gave an even stronger pop of airtime for front row riders, and this turn delivered even better laterals. The subsequent drop delivered another burst of powerful airtime in the back, and then the Screamer spiced things up with a bunny hill. And this hill delivered powerful ejector airtime throughout the whole train. The airtime was not very sustained, but it was intense, especially in the back. This leads into another turnaround, and you really flew into this one. The front got a violent pop of ejector airtime, and the subsequent turn was taken rather fast. I was pinned against the side of the train. Remember, all the turns in this ride are unbanked. That was followed by another strong drop in the back and another ejector airtime filled bunny hill. If you haven't caught on, the Screamer arguably had the best airtime in all of Southern California before Twisted Colossus opened. Then came a really short turnaround that delivered another insane burst of airtime up front. And this turn was taken even faster than the prior ones, so it violently slammed you to the side of the train. Few steel coasters offer laterals like this. The drop off this turnaround delivered another strong burst of airtime in the back. The following bunny hill was trimmed, so the airtime was more the floater variety than the ejector variety, but it still was felt across the whole train. The Screamer then rose up one last turnaround, giving the front their last pop of airtime, but then you realize why the trim was there. You are absolutely whipped around another super tight and unbanked turn, delivering another crushing dose of laterals. I can only imagine how strong they'd be if you weren't slowed down. You then hit the brakes after this super intense and borderline violent ride. And since the coaster was deemed warmed up after the first ride, I was able to lap it a few times trying multiple seats. But once I stopped riding, the coaster reverted right back to the 10 rider limit before it would be able to operate again. So what would I rate the Screamer? I would give this coaster a 9 out of 10. This coaster's layout is repetitive, but I love how it just gets more powerful as it goes on in both the airtime and lateral department. The coaster just keeps building speed as you traverse to the lower levels of the ride. Outside of the first few turns, which are rather slow, there really is not a dull moment on this coaster. While the ride does have some very hard landings, it's similar to what you'll find on Steel Eel at SeaWorld San Antonio. The power of this ride's airtime and laterals are absolutely worth it. I was worried I'd never be able to ride the Screamer again, but I am very glad that Traders Village has saved this spirited coaster. So those are my thoughts on the Screamer, the newest coaster coming to Traders Village. What are your thoughts on the Screamer being saved? Did you ride this coaster at Scandia? I would love to hear your thoughts on this ride down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review and news update, I would appreciate if you gave this video a like and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.